we are going to try and share what are the most common habits, rituals, attitudes, beliefs of some of the healthiest people on the planet. They all tend to have similarities, something in common in terms of how they think, how they behave, how they create and design their lifestyle. So we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just need to look at what other people are doing and it's really working well and just mimic or copy them. So we're going to be sharing with you a lot of ideas, tricks, and strategies that either we do in our families or we've seen other people do. And there's common trends. So if you find the trend and just adopt it into your own lifestyle, your family's culture, you'll probably end up with the exact same result as these extremely healthy people. So be thinking about that as we go. That's kind of the whole point of this discussion. If you do think that our healthcare system, our educational system is not well designed to teach people about their body and how to design their own lifestyle and be independently healthy on their own, say yes.
Yes.
Let's try that one more time. Yes?
Yes.
That's better. Bring it up a notch. Okay. If you think that more doctors, whatever their credentials were, healthcare providers, healthcare specialists, enthusiasts, spent more time having discussions like this, we would be healthier as a whole society. If you agree, say yes.
Yes.
That's why we're here. That's what we're doing. What you're going to do, you're going to have a minute, 60 seconds, to go and circle number 1, number 2 on the page. There's 1 through 72. Okay? You want to find number 1, circle it. Immediately find number 2, circle it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Do as many as you can and keep going in 60 seconds. You understand? Okay, it's really fun, especially when we do the next part. You'll see. Okay, so on your mark, get set, go. Stop. Pencils down. Okay, what'd you guys get to? Grace?
13.
Good.
20.
20.
12.
Nice.
14.
14.
17.
17. Anybody get above 20? Cool. I got 5 first. You guys are great. Okay, now you'll see the point in a second. Now we do it again. You're doing the exact same thing. Okay? But we're going to give you a pattern recognition. We're going to give you a strategy for completing the goal or achieving the goal. The goal is get more numbers. Get as many numbers as you can, right? Okay. So here's what you're looking for. It's broken up into a grid. Same paper. You're going to start here and move your eyeballs from here to here to here and back up again. And do the same thing. Are you ready? Get set. Go. Stop. All right.
I see a lot of smiles.
Yeah, no. What do you guys got? Who got what?
46.
40? That's at least double, yeah?
54.
54, 42, 55, 62, yeah. Good. Did everybody pretty much double their first? I went from 5 to 7. Okay? Now here's the whole point of this exercise. This is beautiful. Trying to achieve your health and wellness, anti-aging, disease prevention goal is like trying to get the most numbers done or get to the end. Circle as many as you can. When you're provided with chaos, a sea of opportunities and ideas, your mind tends to go everywhere, right? I had high anxiety when I first did this, because I'm like, I can't find it, I'm struggling. And you get stressed out, which only makes you even worse at the game, right? And you find that one, and then you go to the next one, and you're scrambling all over the place. Some of you might have had a rhythm or a ritual to this. I didn't. Chaos. That's what I see with most people out there in terms of their lifestyle and their health strategies. Everybody, it's not for lack of trying. It's just we don't have a system in place in our society to teach people a regimented strategy, plan of attack, blueprint, right? Now, I could have told you guys without putting the grid on there, or I could have put the grid on there and give you a different strategy. I could have led you astray. It still would have been a strategy. It still would have been a plan of attack. It still would have been better than just randomly eyeballing the page all over the place. I could have said, start here, go here, here, here. And you probably still would have had better numbers because your eyeballs would have had a pattern of how to progress. Does that make sense? So, when you're given the right strategy or the best strategy possible, you are more capable of achieving whatever your goal is. True? Yes or yes?
Yes.
So that's the beauty, that's the magic behind where we're all at in our lives, is everybody kind of has a different strategy, right? Our body plays by very similar rules, biological laws, are what I often refer to, right? And there are many of them. And we all have that in common. So if we create a strategy for our game of life, it should be fairly congruent from one to another. Maybe there's some small deviations or differences, but it shouldn't be radically different. You shouldn't have a completely different lifestyle strategy than me, right? Maybe I win, maybe you win, but one of us doesn't win enough. If we all have a relatively the same blueprint or strategy, we can all raise our game, increase our results, right? And we can teach it to other people. That's the whole point of the seminar. That's why when you do some math of like when somebody first circles 7 or 8 or 10, and then they can circle 60 or 70, if you can increase your outcome by 200, 500, 800%, that's a big deal. When it's a simple numbers game, that's silly, who cares? But when it's the game of life, how you're going to be living at 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, that's a very big deal. So that's really what we want to try to do today, is give you guys a blueprint, a strategy, to maybe upgrade your own, a framework, and then you can personalize it yourself. But we at least need to get the basics and the fundamentals down. Strategy, a plan of action or policy designed to achieve a major overall goal or aim. Our goal is probably relatively the same, to live really well, be extremely happy and healthy for as long as possible, as often as possible. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Yes?
Yes.
There you go. Okay. But we have to have a plan. It has to be sound. Lifestyle. Habits and attitudes that together constitute a way of living, a mode of living. It's not just what we do. It's attitudes as well. It's our belief systems, our perspective, how we see things in the world, how we describe things, how we internalize things. It's not just what we do. It's not just mechanics. It's both. So we're going to come at you from both perspectives. We're going to really challenge you. Dr. Hansen is going to do the later half of the workshop. He's going to really get into the nuts and bolts of the different stages of childhood and give you, as a parent, some really awesome tips. I'm going to lay the foundation for the strategy, the framework, changing your beliefs and perspectives so that we can upgrade your strategy in the end. If we are empowered with a thought process, a mind map, where we can figure out, I haven't been doing enough of this and this, and I've been doing way too much of that. That's my solution. Execute, outcome changes, solve problem, right? That's what we're looking at right here. First of all, we kind of have to have an operating principle, right? Now I'm going to go at the very end of this. That's at the back. Don't write anything down yet. You guys don't have to write anything down actually just yet because I saved this for the very end. We'll fill in the blank here later. Operating principle. It's your grounding principle. It's your grounding thought process, right? It kind of ties you into a way of thinking that you know is right, and you run things through that way of thinking, and you figure out the answers for yourselves. Most people don't have a grounding principle about health and disease at all. They're winging it. Or maybe it's an idea of how things are, health and disease was passed down. Maybe it's time to upgrade that principle, that thought process. So the better your operating principle, the better your ability to change your strategy, change your outcome, take care of yourself and your family, and raise a super healthy child. Not to mention take better care of yourself. We got all kinds of pieces and parts we could focus on in the human body. Diet, fitness, the heart, the pancreas, the muscles. And I see people picking their areas of interest and kind of putting all their eggs in that basket. I encourage you not to do that. Pick the most important piece and part that is known to regulate the most amount of functions in the human body and invest your time and energies and efforts into that concept, right? You with me there? So if I had to pick one piece or part to generate a blueprint or a strategy around in terms of lifestyle, I could pick a lot of things. Heart is way up there, right? If you develop a lifestyle that's heart healthy, good on you. But what regulates the heart? Nervous system. Of course, our employee knows that. She better now. So if I yank out the nervous system, the heart don't work. So that's how my thought process on what am I going to focus myself, my time on, my family's time on, my energies on. What's the foundation I'm going to build my lifestyle on top of? It's these concepts here. If it's rock solid and super powerful, you're going to be in a good place. Then we want to have a thought process of physical, chemical, emotional. What compartments of a lifestyle do I need to ask questions about? Am I having issues because I have some emotional stuff going on? I need to work on that. Or chemistry is horrible, diet needs to be reworked and redesigned. Or my body physically is just shot and falling apart. I'm spending too much time exercising, not enough time stretching, yada, yada, yada. We'll go into this a little bit deeper, but that's a thought process, that's a mind map where you can troubleshoot what's going on with you or what's going on with your child. What are we missing? What are we doing? What do you need to add or subtract? So I want you guys to just simply try to burn this into your brain. You can cheat off ours, copy ours, but eventually develop your own. But I'm going to encourage you, for whatever you design, make it something like this. Have a chief operating principle in your life and lifestyle. How you view the world and health and disease. Make it as strong as possible. Focus on the big things, big body parts, things that run things. And then don't put your eggs in either one basket, spread them out. Always be asking yourself questions in those areas. The chief operating principle is simple, as I see it. Our habits and lifestyle must align with our biological design. We all have a similar biological design. We all have different morphology, shapes, hair color, eye color, etc. We all move differently, but how our biology works is relatively the same amongst each other. Do you understand that? Do you know that? Do you agree with that? Yes or yes?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. That is a medical fact. We have a very similar biological, physiological design. The more we learn about it and learn how to line our lifestyle up with that biological, physiological design, you become an extreme winner. This is one of the main concepts that super healthy understand. They also understand that when their lifestyle is just not congruent with supporting their biological design, they're hurt. They're going to ail. They're going to develop disease and itises and ailments. Simple as that. So if you can use your mind map to figure out where is my lifestyle incongruent with my design and get it back in line, your body will do what it's designed to do, which is self-heal, self-regulate, etc., etc. It's not just your brain that runs and controls all bodily functions. It's your brain, brainstem, and your spinal cord. That's the information communication system of the human body. It's the operating system. It's the mainframe computer of the body. So if that thing's working really well, it's a better chance that all other things are going to be regulated and controlled well. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Our relationship with our body is very dysfunctional, I think, in most regards. Because we don't understand it. We don't know what it needs. We don't know how to communicate with it, to listen to it. Any relationship where you have that going on is not a good relationship, right? So if we can change the relationship by changing our understanding of the body, good things will inevitably happen from that. So just pay attention to this real quick. Your body produces 25 million new cells each second. Every 13 seconds, you produce more cells than there are people in the United States. In one day, your blood travels 12,000 miles around your body. That's 4 times the distance from the U.S. coast to coast. Approximately every 27 days, your body sheds and regrows its outer lining, your skin. Your liver reproduces itself, regenerates itself, rebuilds itself every 6 weeks. Your stomach lining does it every 5 days. Your whole skeletal structure, people think their bones are just their bones, they're there forever. Your skeletal system replaces itself roughly every 3 months. You're constantly repairing, regenerating. My point being is a lot of work is being done by this body, and what's doing it? And it's working well or not. That's my point. Your brain reproduces itself every year. That is based on your lifestyle. That's based on your lifestyle strategy. If your lifestyle strategy is congruent with growing and regrowing a good brain, good on you. If it's not, you might be in trouble. And we're going to give you some of this stuff in terms of our strategies for supporting the body's biological design for regrowing the brain, amongst a bunch of other stuff. And it doesn't have to be that difficult. So get this. Look at your hand real quick. 1 square inch. Maybe I don't know what that is. Maybe picture like a quarter on your hand. 1 square inch of your hand, you have 9 feet of blood vessels, 600 pain receptors, sensors, 900 nerve endings, 36 heat sensors, and 75 pressure sensors. That's in 1 square inch of your hand. Let's just say that's in your hand alone. What about the other hand? What about the foot and everything in between? There's a whole lot of stuff packed into this thing. Fortunately, you don't have to think about how it works. That's the cool part. Because something else has already been placed there to do that. You just have to fall back in love with that. You have to change our relationship with that. You have to figure out what does that thing need to work really well for a long time. If you can figure that out, that again is part of the strategy that most of the healthiest people on the planet have figured out and do in their family culture and teach their kids how to do it, their grandkids. So yes, it's your brain, it's your nervous system, it's your supercomputer, it's your operating system. I usually refer to it as the operating system of the human body. So get this, Our supercomputer is comprised of our brain and spinal cord, it's a nervous system, chief operating system. Spinal cord contains 350 million neurons. Your brain has 100 billion neurons. That's a roughly similar amount of things as the Milky Way as far as stars go. That's hardly comprehensible to most people. But it's really well designed. It's a really cool thing. In just one human brain, there's probably more wiring, more electrical circuitry than in all the computer systems of the world put together. These are staggering concepts, incomprehensible. We can't even fathom those types of numbers. Nerve impulses travel to and from the brain at speeds of 270 miles an hour. It's estimated that we process more bits of information in one day, consciously and unconsciously. Most of it's unconsciously. Our brains just do crazy stuff when we're not even thinking or when we're sleeping. More bits of information in one day than there are bits of human knowledge in all the world libraries. The brain does some ridiculously incomprehensible cool things, right? So what does it need? How does it work? What does it need from our lifestyle? If the human brain were a computer, it could perform 38,000 trillion operations per second. The world's most powerful supercomputer, called Bluetooth, by the way, can only manage about 0.002% of that. So your brain, your nervous system, is way more powerful and complex than we even understand right now, as smart as we may be. And it's what runs you. So if your lifestyle strategy, your principle, and your operating system, they're all designed, physical, chemical, and emotional, to support that structure, you're in a really sweet spot. If you're not, if you're completely oblivious to that, which most people are, because we don't have a way of teaching, coaching that, raising family cultures that way, this is why as a society, most human beings are ailing. And we're not getting better, we're getting sicker decade after decade. So I propose that we change the way we look at things, our strategy, just ground ourselves in our principle, focus our physical, chemical, and emotional strategies, habits, rituals on supporting the operating system, and all will be well, right? Our body's chief operating system is the nervous system, right? Lifestyle strategies that promote its ability to function better or properly is good. That's all. That's simple rules. Lifestyle strategies that inhibits its ability to function properly is bad. You can make almost any decision on what you buy, how you move, how you sit, stand, anything based on these concepts. But I would say physical is the most important, chemical, and then emotional. That's how we list them, that's how we prioritize them. Because if you have a physical problem, something's wrong with your body that's impairing your operating system, it's typically a 24/7 issue. It's based on chronicity. How often is it there? Your diet, no matter how good or bad it may be, it fluctuates. Your emotional state, no matter how good or bad it is, it still usually fluctuates. Good days, bad days, super great mood, okay mood, bad mood. It changes. So the level that it changes dictates the level of impact on your operating system, your nervous system's ability to generate health and prevent disease. You with me there? So look for the big ones, the ones that are always there, the most often, every day, all day, 8 hours a day or 1 hour a day. That's how you prioritize. What am I going to work on? So let's say you got 100 opportunities to improve your lifestyle, 100 tricks, ideas. Never start with 72, especially if they're listed in order of importance. Where would you start? 1. Then you would go to 2. Then 3. Focus on the heavy hitters, the big things that have the biggest impact on the nervous system. And then you work your way down the list as best as you can. Think about this. Putting these two words together, how can we create a lifestyle strategy that's congruent with everything we're talking about, our design, our operating system, the operating principle, right? How do we prioritize it? I would suggest, as opposed to adding new things in, sometimes it's hard to add things into your lifestyle. Sometimes it's easier to just remove something, okay? And sometimes it changes. Sometimes you want to add before you subtract. In this case, we want to talk about removing interference to the operating system, the supercomputer, and let it work better, and then start adding some things in that upregulate it, that promote better function. Do you see the wisdom in that? If you got some obstruction, whatever that is, for us in our world that we live in as chiropractors, it's called a subluxation. Something weird and funky, really abnormal with the spine. A misalignment, a fixation, both, that's pinching nerves, that's down-regulating the nervous system's ability to operate the body. If that's there 24/7, why would we say the first place to start counseling this patient is to change their diet? Let's say that nerve interference goes to their gut, and then we try to change their diet. The nerve interference is still there, even though we're throwing really good food in. Does that make sense? If we remove the interference and let the body just do what it's designed to do, the operating system actually operate well, and then you throw nutrition on top of that, the body will do the best job with what you give it. See the wisdom in that? If you look at physical stressors that directly or indirectly influence the nervous system's ability to function, the more you are aware of, the more you're working on, the more you're adding the good ones, subtracting the bad ones, the better off you will be. Simple. So I just kind of puked on paper, if you will. One of the things that I think about most often, what do I see most often with most people? And I give you guys a little check and balance system there. Maybe you could circle one that you are not doing at all, not paying attention at all, don't know anything about, etc. I give you a little exercise there too. You can go through this and kind of give it a 1 to 10 number on each one of those little boxes with the red check marks. Don't do it now, but in the future this would be an awesome exercise for you to do because it's going to tell you exactly where you need to be working on. 10 being, this is not a problem at all. I know exactly what it is. I believe I'm doing exactly the right thing for it. Forget about it. Versus, I have no idea what that word is or what that means or what my posture is or where I'm tight or what I should be exercising. I'm clueless or I haven't really been working on it as much as I could or should. I know I need to. You're going to give it a low score. Focus on the low scores, right? Ask somebody for advice. Seek help and counsel for something you don't know about and upregulate those scores. Ideally, if you're functioning in a 9 to 10 on all those, you are doing sensational. Sad fact of the matter is, if I interview most people, they're missing some of those. Some of them completely, some of them, they know they should be doing better, but they're not doing anything about it. So down at the bottom there, at the recommendations, this was another little cool thing that we added there on that first page, recommendations. Pick 3 of those items that you know you should be working on or doing more about. We want to talk about some cool stuff and change your thinking and really empower you guys when you walk out the door today, but what are you going to do with it, right? So that's why we made this exercise of, when you leave here today, you could have at least 3 things in the physical category that you are going to really commit to trying to do something better about, chemical and emotional. Now here's another reason why we put physical above chemical and emotional, because again, some people are so addicted to nutrition, that's the world they live in, and they don't even think anything exists outside that world. Chemistry, biochemistry, nutrition is important, it's huge. I'm a big fan. But I believe that physiology largely dictates psychology. That's also why we put emotional down the bottom. I do believe that if your emotional state is great, you've been taking good care of it, doing whatever you can to be emotionally well, life's just good, life's better. If you're an emotional wreck, life's not so great, right? But I think, based on my mentors, the people I've studied from, the best way to change your emotional state is not just trying to think yourself positive. It's trying to change your physiology. And that is where nutrition comes in. Because nutrition changes your physiology, which helps you think more positive and be happier more often. But there's also that physical component too. And we've seen it tons of times with people of all different walks of life and ages. If they have a subluxation, a weird posture, it can depress a person. And they can be in a place where they just can't get out of it, no matter how well they're supplementing or eating, no matter what positive tapes they're listening to, right? Sometimes you have to remove those big, those number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those big stressors to the nervous system. You have to get those out of there and let the nervous system work well. And then your body starts to do what it's designed to do. And when it does that, you typically live a much happier life when you're physically and chemically not stressed out all the time. I'm not saying that going to counselors is bad, but when counselors aren't focused on physical and emotional stressors that are just crushing this person and expecting them to change their emotional state, what kind of outcome are we going to experience? You with me there? We got a lot of kids that have all kinds of weird emotional, cognitive disorders, emotional problems. And I think a lot of them have a lot to do with they're physically messed up. And they're always going to be that way until you remove that barrier, remove that obstacle. Or they're chemically messed up. Until you address that, don't expect anything better, right? And we're seeing that a lot in our society these days. These are the key players, right? All the things with the red check mark, these are the big guys to me. These are all the things that I think about, Dr. Hansen thinks about, and works on. There's probably more. I'm sure there's more. But these are the big ones. Don't get distracted by number 72. Focus on the main ones here, guys. I would say do the same exercise. Do the same recommendations. Pick 3 things that you know it's time to start working on. You're going to learn more about. You're going to Google it. You're going to go to that Facebook group page and see what we got stashed there. And you're just going to commit to the next couple weeks, months, mastering that one, or going from a 1 to a 10. Make it easy, make it fun, systematic, strategy. You can do it. So, Dr. Hansen's turn. Good. Oh, lastly, the add or subtract one on chemical. If you're dumping a lot of good stuff in, but you got a lot of neurotoxins, a bunch of other stuff that's always in the food, your favorite thing, and you just don't know enough about it, That's not the right strategy. We want to get the gunk out and add the good stuff in. I know sometimes that's hard, and you can do it either way. You're still going to get better results than doing nothing. But the most strategic way to do this is get out the bad stuff that's irritating your nervous system. I gave you a cheat sheet that's called the top 10 neurotoxins. The chemicals that are in a lot of foods that really just irritate your brain and nervous system to no end. Whether you feel it or not, or cognizant of it or not, doesn't matter. It just makes your body work less, and you're in trouble. So I gave you that because I think that's one of the most important things I could give you today. You got to look at your ingredients, look at the things you drink, look at your supplements, look at the foods you like to buy, and look for those numbers. Also, on our Facebook page, I am going to create a PDF download of these. I have these things on my phone, so you could be in a grocery aisle with your neurotoxins, and you could turn over a can of soup. If the can of soup has a neurotoxin in it, put it back. Look for one that doesn't have it. That's a very strategic way of, let's not put any more chemical stressors on there that are going to downregulate the operating system, affect my body's ability to create health and prevent disease. Why would I do that? Neurotoxins are a very big deal. I wish I had an hour to go over that just with you, but now it's Dr. Hansen's turn.
For those who know me as Dr. Person, I'm Dr. Hansen. I have 3 amazingly crazy, beautiful boys. I still remember driving home from the hospital with my sweetheart Emma, and I remember driving home with this newborn and looking at my wife and saying, "Oh my gosh, they just let us take him home. They let us take him home." What? I mean, my mind was just blown. But the peace came to my mind that I had, at that point, not as many as I have now, strategies to create the healthiest child by choice and not chance. One of the things that scared me in life was what Dr. Burns was talking about, genetics. We had several patients fill out surveys. A lot of people said, yeah, I'm concerned that my kid's going to get what I got. I am concerned and deathly afraid that my child's going to get what my grandfather had. He has dementia. I'm going to get it. My son's going to get it. Who likes to feel that their life is out of their control? Anybody? Absolutely not. I want to feel that I am in control of my own life to the things that I can control personally. And that is where some of these lifestyle strategies came into play. There's a quote that I wanted to read. And it says, "Thinking of your child as behaving badly disposes you to think of punishment." Okay, thinking your child's behaving badly, they're acting up, whatever, disposes you to think of punishment. On the other hand, thinking of your child as struggling to handle something, struggling to overcome something difficult, encourages you to help them through their distress. It's all about that mindset. How many of you have seen or have heard your child say something that you said and immediately said, "Oh my gosh"? Honesty. Said, "Oh my gosh, did they just say that? Wait, oh yeah, they got that from me." Our children are watching us. They are watching everything we do and repeating everything we say. There was a study. They took 200 parents. They brought them into a room, and they had some toys for the kids, and they just let the kids kind of play, and they let the parents talk. They really didn't know why they were there. The parents immediately, after probably 5 or 6 minutes, busted out their electronic device. And they started looking at it. And you look at these cameras watching. And you watch the child and you watch the parents. And as time goes on, the parents stop talking to each other, stop talking to the kids, and they start looking at their phones. And they started looking at the kids. And on average, within this time period, 47 times, the children looked at their parent to see if they were watching what they were doing. Some of the kids would do something bad. They would start to, bash 2 toys together. They were looking to see if their parents were watching them, or watching. There's a study done by Master Foods Australia, and the PDF that we talked to you guys about that we're going to send you has this link to this video. I'm very emotional. This is why I have this one. I watched this and I cried when I watched this. And again, we'll send it to you guys. There was a study that, again, they took several parents in. put them in a setting, and they said, if you could eat dinner with anyone living or dead, who would it be? And some of the families right off the bat, oh, Paul Hogan, Crocodile Dundee. Some people said, several celebrities. A lot of people said, oh, people of influence. I would do, Nelson Mandela or a president or so-and-so. And that's what all the parents talked about. Oh, this famous person who just had so much change in the world. They then brought the kids in, and they let the parents watch what the kids said. They asked the children, if you could have dinner with anyone living or dead, who would it be? Without even hesitating, the first two little girls are on there, they said, oh, my mom and dad. I would love to eat dinner with my mom and dad. They asked another little boy, they said, who would you like to eat dinner with? Living or dead, he goes, well, does it have to be a celebrity? I would love to eat with my extended family. I would love to have my whole family over. And you look at the reaction of the parents, just mouths dropped, emotions start to fly. Meals are absolutely, they're so important to have meals together without screen time. In the 60s, a little bit later, the TV trays and the TV dinners came out. Communication began to stop. And you see a pivotal point in our society where so many other problems can be derived from what these studies show, from not eating together, from not talking together. So that is absolutely huge. We'll give you the video on that. I doubt anyone in here has had a bad day, right? At the end of the day, no one, right? Absolutely not. Maybe once, maybe twice. If you are honest with yourself, if you think at the end of the day, if you think, why? Why was this a day that should just be scrapped and deleted from history? Why was that day? If we were to think, how did that day start? I guarantee you could find where a lot of those problems arose. Our children need to have, our grandchildren, nephews, nieces, those with whom we associate, they need to have certainty and stability from the moment they walk up. They need to have strategies on what they're doing. Families, several studies show families that pray together daily, families that meditate together daily. Families, and family, I mean, there are so many different complex family systems, right? But they showed that the children who started off with prayer, with meditation, with the parents talking to the child one-on-one, those children tend to have a better day. They feel better about themselves. Talking about certainty. Children absolutely have to have certainty. They need to be reminded constantly that their life is secure, that everything is okay. One of the worst things that we can do with our children is talk about a financial crisis. The child goes to school worried, oh, daddy lost his job, we don't have money, we don't have this. We never argue in front of our children. I know my wife and I we've never had anything like that, right? We've never disagreed in front of the children, right? There's appropriate times when we need to have family counsel together, family communication together, but there's opportunity like that we need to take offline. They did a study in 16 hospitals with children who had cancer. And they gave the children, they all had the same cancer. They all were given the same medications, the same meals, the same everything. They were trying to figure out what is one of the biggest things we can do to influence or help change outcome to get them better. Guess what it was? And it was twofold. Guess was one of the greatest things that helped these children feel better and get better long term. It was when the families came for meals, number one. So parents would come for a morning snack, an evening snack, and when they had scheduled visits with the family, they had certainty. I know that if dad has to go to work, I know that at 2 o'clock though, he's coming back. I know that brother and sister at 3:45 are coming from school. So having that certainty. Being able to schedule and have family counsel together is absolutely huge. Planning the activities of the week, letting your children know, having a routine is absolutely paramount. A couple things here. One of the greatest things that we saw, but is now we have been seeing get taken away from our children in school. You know what it is?
Recess.
Recess. playtime. They have done several studies on children who have had that time taken away. You start seeing more emotional disturbances. You start seeing more functional disturbances, more outbursts, more outbreaks, more, I am not going to do my homework. I am not going to play. This is your life, isn't it? This is what we are seeing. Children need to be able to play. At our home, our children know. When they wake up in the morning, we give them a big hug, we give them a big kiss, we try to eat together. We leave on a positive note. My wife is amazing. I have Tuesdays, Thursdays where I get the ability to start up my day a little bit later. I usually will, I'll be able to make lunches for my kids. We'll eat together. And one of the things I'm saying is I'm taking the lunch from before, and my kids never throw it away. And I get emotional. My wife writes a note to our children. I love you. Mama loves you. Something phenomenal about that child for that day. But they're leaving on that positive note. And the days we haven't started that way are the days you will see it. And if you are honest with yourselves and you look and you assess, how did my plan get executed today? Did we start off right? Did we end right? You will start to see those little loopholes. One of the most sincere stories I ever heard, I had a little boy several years ago. Their family was in a car accident, all 6 of them. And as the years went by, and they never sought care for it, none of them, they found their way to our practice. And their family began to change. And I was talking to this little boy, Caleb, and I said, Caleb, since you've been coming here, what's one of the greatest things that you've seen with you and your family? What is the greatest things you have felt? Because you could see the emotions in this boy change. The physiology of this boy changed. And he said something that I will never forget. And I hope never has to happen again. He said, Dr. Hansen, he goes, I am so happy. My daddy doesn't hit me anymore. He said, after the accident, my daddy got really sad. He got really sick. And now that he's been getting adjusted, my dad's happy. My family's happy now. That was a life-altering change for that boy that I had no idea about. I never had the discussion with the parents. It wasn't my place. But that changed their life. Physiology drives your psychology. Is going to help you change that way. All right, we're going to get into a few of the 3 phases of childhood. I wish we could go over every single symptom, condition that bothers us. We took several surveys as the years have gone on, especially the last few months when we were preparing for this, and we came up with the major concerns that myself as a parent and that our parents have. And I want you to think. We're going to talk about some buzzwords, things that concern us as parents, things that concern us, and we want to still think of the main principle. What controls every function of the human body? The nervous system. We have to first think, if there is a concern, if there's a problem, if we see a challenge, we have to look first. What is causing that problem? Is it a physical? Is it chemical? Is it emotional? Okay? So we're going to talk about a few things here. Within a few slides, we're going to talk about birth trauma and its effects. The American Pediatric Association recommends that within the first 6 weeks of life, children be evaluated by a chiropractor. Did everyone know that? The first 6 weeks of life, okay? Picture this. No one in their right mind would ever even fathom, even want to do this, okay? If you took, so here's the base of the skull, here's the pelvis. No one would ever think of holding a child like this, right? No way, absolutely not. But the research has shown, if you hold a baby just like this, a child just like this, there's about 8 to 10 pounds of gravity, of pressure being pulled. About 10 pounds of gravity can tear tissue, can subluxate, which is basically what Dr. Burns talked about. It can cause a malalignment or abnormal motion or movement, okay? And that can affect a child. When a child is born, do you know, and let's say, not even talking about excessive force, suction, a vacuum, which we'll talk about here in a second. A natural delivery. Do you know how many pounds of pressure are born to get a child out? And this is not sunny side up, not face up. Do you know what the average pound of pressure is? Just to deliver a natural, healthy baby? 60 to 80 pounds of pressure. Damage happens It is proven to happen at 10. At 10. Isn't that crazy? So when we're thinking, the baby being brought into this world is already starting off a little bit of a disadvantage. I have a, talking about the first side real quick, we had an 18-month-old named James. Mother brought him in. James could not walk at 18 months, and the doctors could not figure out why. There was nothing broken, there were no major dysplasias in the hips. They couldn't figure out why. She said, he cries non-stop. He is not a happy child. He is in dire pain. The mom, she said, I have not slept an entire night for more than an hour or two in a row since he was born. How is that affecting mom? How is that affecting everyone, right? Came in, did a simple evaluation on him. We found he did have a few things, a few subluxations, a couple of physical major stressors in his body. We found later, too, that there were some chemical things. Wasn't eating very well, eating a lot of processed foods, things that were inflaming his body, causing some digestive issues as well. As I was going through, I found a little part in his spine. I found one part of the nervous system that controls digestion in the stomach, upper intestine, lower intestine. I asked the mom, I said, hey, question for you. I mean, how is this? Tell me, how's the digestive protocol? I mean, how often does he use the restroom? And she goes, for about the last 9 months, he hasn't been able to go to the bathroom by himself. He hasn't been able to do that. We have to intervene for him to be able to go to the bathroom. She goes, why didn't you ask that? So come on over, come feel this real quick. Had her feel his spine. She goes, oh my gosh, what is that? I said, that is an example of a subluxation. Okay? We did a further evaluation, found that an adjustment was needed to correct what was going on in there. I adjusted his hips, and the most amazing thing happened. She went to pick him up on the table, and his legs, which were caught about like this, dropped, and he helped stand on the table by himself. 18 months, can't walk yet. Okay? I said, he moves so well, within the next 30 to 40 minutes, you may want to have, get ready for a diaper change. She goes, oh, yeah, he doesn't go to the bathroom by himself. And I think every one of our staff members can remember this. They're sitting in the playroom with their other toddler, and the sound of a child that had been backed up for years was heard through the entire office. And the mother bawled. She cried. She cried. And she said, Dr. Hansen, Dr. Burns, why has nobody told me about this? Why has nobody told me about chiropractic? How come nobody was able to point me in the right direction? We were able to find with him as well other stressors. Common fact, children who receive regular and consistent chiropractic care don't get earaches. My children, I have 3 boys, all born C-section, for various reasons, never had an ear infection. Children who receive chiropractic care never have that. Why? There's a lot of neurology, a lot of physiology about that we can talk about later. Recent research studies show that births which require, we talked about this briefly, intervention by a doctor, C-section, forceps, suction, excessive force. 90% of these cases proved to have upper neck injuries. This was done by Dr. Vio Freiman, she's VO. They took 1,500 babies from a day old to 5 days old. So we're talking things that happen pretty much every day, okay? 90% had that. Another doctor, Tobin, brilliant man, found a very similar study. He showed that birth trauma was not being caught, was not being validated. Go to the next slide. Look real quick. How many times newborn parents, we have some parents of newborns here, okay? How many times have we heard, oh, he's just colicky, she's so fussy, she's colicky. Well, what's causing it? What do you know what's causing it? They're just colicky, right? They're babies, right? They're colicky. There are so many symptoms that can come from birth trauma. Colic, bedwetting, by the way, as the time goes on. A lot of parents think, oh, it's just a water issue. He or she drinks just a lot of water at night. It is not a water issue. It is a higher brain functioning issue. we start to see the correlation between that. How many of you have seen little kids that it's so cute, they walk on their toes? Oh, that's so cute. She knows. That's look how cute that is. They walk on their toes. That is a huge red flag. There are some neurologic issues that are not firing right. They're not firing extensor muscles of the body. And we start to see other things. Case in point, we had a sweet little baby, Abigail. And Abigail, a good friend of mine, the doctor, he was a pediatrician, one of my good friends, calls me up, said, hey, my wife's been in labor for 72 hours, okay? 72 hours. They did episiotomy, baby won't come out. They did a horizontal cut for C-section, baby wouldn't come out. They had to do another cut. They tried inverting the mom on the table, couldn't come out. Finally, the doctor was able to pull this sweet baby out. And her arm was kind of stuck like this, so they had to pull her out. They had to say about they had to get her out. And he says, Dr. Hansen, she's got torticollis. Torticollis, a couple muscles over here, flared up, get a little bit torn, get damaged. Parts of the upper cervical spine get damaged. Babies are like this. How many of you have seen children that never really turn the other way? They're stuck kind of like this. Okay? When we talk about SIDS, I do not like talking about it, but because I have seen what happens if you don't address it, it has to be said. One of the doctors, Tobin, spoke about this. He said, torticollis, they looked at babies who had passed away from SIDS. And he said they found 95% of these cases had torticollis with damage to the upper cervical spine due to a natural delivery process. There might have been a little bit of intervention with forceps, whatnot. So the sweet little girl had been pulled so hard, so she got torticollis. He goes, Dr. Hansen, she can't use her right arm. It's paralyzed. The doctors told me, you know, she's here. She's safe. We got her out. We did everything we could. There's complicating factors, but she's alive. And he said, you know, I'm so happy she is alive. What can you do? So I drove to the hospital. It was middle of the night. Drove to the hospital. And I checked in as clergy. They said, oh, this is Dr. Hansen. He's one of our clergymen from church. Went in, looked at the sweet little baby. And I said, do you mind, let me just do a little evaluation. Let me just look. I knew what had happened. I gave you the rundown of that. And I looked, and as plain as day, the lower part of the cervical spine was so incredibly misaligned. I mean, just so blatant. I had a little tool, just a gentle little tool. I did 2 little clicks. Okay, plain and simple. The doctors had believed at that point they had severed what's called the brachial plexus. That's what they had thought. Within 30 minutes, as we're watching her, and I'm just doing some light muscle stripping on her neck, within 30 minutes, her hand goes up. It jumps up, and she starts to clench. Starts to clench. The mother starts breaking down. Oh my gosh! The doctor comes in. Oh my gosh, great! Oh, we were worried about this one. Looks like she's going to be just fine. And the mother says, this is not a clergyman. This is our chiropractor. This is Dr. Hansen. And I'm thinking, oh no, what? Am I going to get escorted out of here? I basically told them what we had done, told the evaluation that had been performed. Guess who became my greatest referrer of birth trauma? That doctor. Okay, thank you. Okay, children, age 5 to 12. I have 3 boys. They are always falling, whacking themselves, getting injured. On average, the average 5-year-old falls down, do you know how many times? What was the number?
It's 100.
100, okay. 2,000 times is how many times an average kid is fallen by that point. And 200 are considered serious enough where if it's not checked up on, it will cause some type of physiologic, neurologic problem. Okay? Took my kids sledding not too long ago. I giggled when they did 15 spins as they fell at the very bottom. I definitely adjusted them right afterwards and evaluated them. 2,000 times 200 are considered serious. What's my notes here? We see a lot of children with a lot of cognitive learning disabilities, ADD, ADHD. We do a test here. from time to time with our children, it's called Middlemeyer's test. Don't have to know the neurology behind anything fancy. Basically, while kids just stand, have put their hands out in front of them, they'll have them march in place with their eyes closed. And the point is, when they close their eyes, is the brain's so connected that it knows where it's at in space where they're not going to really move. And we'll see children that'll do this, and they start doing this, or they start doing this. They go, oh my gosh, I thought I was standing still. We'll evaluate them and figure out, okay, we'll do a full physical evaluation. We'll look at their diet, we'll look at everything. We'll look in the spine and find areas that are not firing appropriately to the brain or down and make a proper correction, proper alignment, proper adjustment. We'll do the test again. March perfectly in place. It's the most amazing thing. Parents, every week in the practice, oh my gosh, you know, she's excelling now in school. She can focus now in school. How many times do we hear, oh, he just can't focus. He just can't focus. He's just not disciplined. He physically can't. His brain is so disconnected that he's going somewhere else. So we have to evaluate the nervous system. What is interfering? Is there a physical, component, emotional component, a chemical component? What is causing any type of interference? And then we make a proper correction. Digestion, very quicker. 80% of our immunity comes from our gut. 80%, okay? If the gut gets inflamed, there's a condition that is called leaky gut syndrome, okay? In children that have been diagnosed officially or thought to have ADD, ADHD, any type of cognitive brain imbalance, we look absolutely at the brain, we look at the skull, the spinal cord, the spinal column, the spine to evaluate that. We look to see, is there anything causing any type of dysfunction? But we find that if there are areas physically that are stressing that part of the stomach, of the digestive system, it becomes chronically inflamed. We had a 5-year-old, hadn't spoken sentences yet, wasn't able to talk. We found they had several physical components and a lot of emotional and chemical components. Wasn't eating right, had a lot of factors. After the first few adjustments, after drastically changing this child's diet, the child within 3 months began speaking, enrolled in kindergarten, because the mom thought they were going to homeschool for life. We had to evaluate and find where the problem was. If there is a problem, if there is a concern, if you see a challenge, you need to first think, how can I help my child through this? What is causing the problem? You'll see all throughout our practice little signs. We talk about it all the time. We want to find causes to problems here. We have no interest in masking symptoms. We want to fix, we want to correct.
I'm going to do this fast because I know we're going long. How to do a postural analysis on a little kid, your kids, okay? What to look for. Sometimes I make the mistake of assuming I've been doing this for so long that it's easy, but I'm going to try my best to show you how to do this. Have your child stand there in front of you. Their eyes have to be closed because when their eyes are open, their eyes tell their brain what vertical and horizontal are, so they stand better. You want to see which way they're really contorted or twisted or being pulled. So the eyes have to be closed, ideally. They can stay there. Eyes closed, and you just have them stay there for a little bit. 30 seconds or so, their muscles will tire out. And then they'll stand in their posture, whatever it is, good or bad. That's the stuff you want to see. Is their head, is the midline features of their head perfectly square with you? Or do you see more of one side of the face than the other? That means their head's rotated, potentially from a birth trauma or from something on the playground. Is their head tilted to one side or the other? Is one shoulder higher than the other? Those are usually the easy ones that almost anybody can find if we show them how to look for it. When we do analysis on a kid, we have this parent stand right behind us, and we level everything out and show them stuff. And it's very insightful because they're like, oh my gosh, I've never even seen that. Well, I know, it's really subtle. I wouldn't expect you to, but that's relevant. On that Facebook page, I just uploaded a video today that shows you a C-section. Nothing too gruesome or scary, but it shows you how they laterally flex the head because you got to clear the shoulder to come out, right? And then they lift from the occiput and the skull. Those two things right there are probably what's causing a lot of these head tilts, rotations, high shoulders, things that are stretched out, one arm that doesn't work better than the other, blah, blah, blah. And certainly pulling on the skull, etc. So you should watch that video and share it with your friends and family. That's why every kid should at least be checked out by a chiropractor regardless of symptoms, because you never know what's really there until we get older and adults. We're like, geez, this body, it's getting old. No, it's just been subluxated for about 40 years, right? And you're feeling it. So that's the stuff you want to look for in kids. There's some other tricky stuff like rotations and twists and bends. Just look at their face, look at the tilts and rotations and the shoulders. And one last thing, if they stand there and they look down at the floor, very bad. Because with their eyes closed, there's no reason to look down at the floor. They should be looking at least level with the horizon, or ideally slightly inclined, especially with their eyes closed. If they're looking down, red flag, go to a chiropractor, right? And the other last one is the dot on the ear should be roughly over this little bony spot on the shoulder. If it's really way out here, red flag. Okay, those are the main things to look for. You can analyze your nieces and your nephews and your grandkids like that. Brilliant, because chances are you probably will find some subtle things. You're like, I don't know if I'm just seeing stuff here, but take them to an expert and figure it out. All right? So, and expert. Who is the expert? Real quick. God bless all MDs and DCs and anybody that's in the health professional to take care of people, but the experts are not the MDs on musculoskeletal postural stuff. They have little to no training at all. That whole bend over, run your hands down there, what they're looking for is scoliosis. That's ugly and obvious, and that's kind of it. But what about the small stuff that we're talking about? They're not trained to see that. They don't even think about that. Most medical doctors do not have the level of education to do a true spinal postural exam. That's just not what they're taught in school. So we can't fault them for that. But take your kids, not to them, where they do the nurse test. You're fine, you're bad. Take them to the expert where they'll find little subtleties, fix them quick, send them on their way. That's the trick. This is Andrew, real fast. That's his x-ray. Andrew's standing in this direction. That's his jawline, right? 7 years old. ADD, ADHD, crazy kid, dilated pupils, didn't pay attention to anything, anybody, just craziness, right? You look at his spine, but what I would encourage you not to look at is not so much what you see, it's what you know is there. You see the bones on an x-ray. You can't see his operating system, his nervous system. Wherever his spine goes, his nervous system goes. If the spine's healthy, the operating system's typically stress-free physically. If the spine is completely straight and the top bone that's supposed to be tilted up 30 degrees is almost flat and level with the horizon, this kid's got physical stressors 24/7 right in the area of his brainstem, influencing his brain chemistry and neurology. I can measure it, I can see it. I would work on that first, remove the interference, and then we didn't even add anything. This is way back when before we did even any diet, just did pure chiropractic. So we didn't change the kid's diet, nothing. We just adjusted him, removed the obstruction, his operating system upregulated, ADHD went away, he's off in college now, and yeah, 3 months later his routine was done, didn't need it anymore. So that's the cool stuff. We've never really been taught to appreciate operating system, how chiropractic ties into that. Everybody thinks we're snap, crackle, pop docs, right? It's a lot more than that.
Talking about the posture. I was driving by Arapahoe High School, okay? It was around lunchtime, everyone was running across the street to grab food. This is what I saw. Okay? If you think the brain, okay, drives everything, it's our supercomputer. Spinal cord, that's that connection, that communication superhighway. What is happening, do you think, to this? It is literally being pulled. Okay, stretch. The brain is being starved to death. Blood supply, nerve supply. Okay, they just did another study. I love studies. We have a lot of proof in the pudding stuff that we see in the practice that we implement every day. The average teenager, okay, 13 to 19, guess how many days they will be spending on average on screen time, what they call. So cell phone, an iPad, a DS, whatever. Guess how much time, if you were to think about it. I looked at it as I was thinking about it, I thought, oh, I mean, and they gave it within a year. Guess how much time? And I thought, oh, I don't know, 72 hours. And I thought, no, it's going to have to be quite a bit more than that. Maybe, I don't know, I was trying to think about it. 50 days, an equivalent time with their heads like this, okay? When this happens, decreases your body's ability to breathe correctly. Every time you breathe, you can't get 100% the oxygen your body needs for that because it's being pulled, it's being distressed. Screen time, depression, self-image, anxiety, stress, hormone imbalances, okay? Poor posture, academic challenges, lack of concentration. He just can't concentrate. It's just that mental discipline. No, there's some major things going on causing that. Unresolved sports trauma and injuries. We have a young man here, David. David he played hockey, he played lacrosse, he played football. He had 6 concussions, okay? He saw us at the age of 19 going to school. Yeah, doc, man, what are you doing? I don't know. I'm in school trying to get a few things done. He had moments of, the kid was naturally brilliant. Very, very, very smart. We found some severe physical issues. Have you ever been to a chiropractor? Absolutely not. Have you ever had his spine evaluated? Absolutely not. Have you ever been treated for the concussions? He hadn't. This young man now is thriving in college. He's on the student council there, student government. He's in several sports clubs. He now has 3 offers when he gets out of school. Okay? He's now into finances. He thought, I've just been a little bit slower since these concussions. I've been a little bit down since this all happened. It was never appropriately evaluated. Fatigue, okay? Being tired. Please take us up on this. We're going to talk about it here in a moment. We want to help you. We want to help your children. We want to help any child, anyone in your life. If you have a spine, you should have it checked. The American Dental Association, when do they recommend that children should get their first checkup? Ages 1 to 2. Ages 1 to 2. Average, 5 to 7. Okay? 5 to 7. We need to evaluate and be sure the physical, okay? If this does not function at 100%, neither can the end organ. When this happens, funny little thing. Guess where your thyroid, guess where the nerves that control your thyroid come from? That right there. Where does all this pressure pile drive onto? Right there. We've had hundreds of patients, I don't know if I want to say thousands, maybe even thousands, that have come in and said, they said nothing about thyroidism, nothing about adrenal fatigue, nothing about the other things. Just, doc, I hurt. Just me, I hurt. Over time, they get off prescriptions with the help of their doctor. They get off their Synthroid. They get off their adrenal medications because the physiology turns back on. The body knows how to heal itself. It is absolutely crucial in these years where we have an extraordinary amount of hormones, okay, going through the body, that we get the children evaluated. If there is a injury of any kind, we need to be sure that they are getting properly evaluated. And sometimes they come in, bang up a little bit, adjust, evaluate, they're good to go. Get them checked out. Okay, did you see the green line? That's where the neck should be. So if you look at me, if anyone has X-ray vision, you'll see, because I worked really hard on it. I got a C-shaped curve. That's what you want to see, a little C-shape, little banana. That's what you want to see. Okay? This is where you should be. Guess how old this young lady is? 17. She has if no one has ever seen a chiropractor, okay, by the age of 50 to 60, typically you'll start to see some things like this. 17, okay? A few years down the road of another patient, similar curve. Big issue starting to happen. We talk about thyroid, other higher functions of the body. Controlled right there. A few years later, fully fusion, we see people like this. Hey, Hal, how you doing? Oh, hey, doing good. They can't move. So not only, and that's when people catch. See, doc, I noticed I can't really move and I'm really sore. What can you do about it? Gosh, I wish I'd have caught it here. I wish I'd have caught it right there. Okay? We are passionate about wanting to help you find solutions, strategies that will help change your children's lives and your own lives. I'm sure each of you have had a thought, something, a person, yourself, a condition in your life. If you've thought that, you better put an asterisk, circle it 15 times. That is something that you need to focus on, and that's something that we would love to help you focus on. Again, we only have a short amount of time to give so many years of knowledge and passion and studies. Please take us up on letting us evaluate you, your sweet children. Okay? American Pediatric Association, what did they say? When should your child get checked? 6 weeks. 6 weeks. They have a spine. We should be sure that it is subluxation free and moving well.